Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Josh Welsh, president of Film Independent. Welcome to Film Independent Presents, a very special edition of our program, where we have the director and actor from Land, Robin Wright, and also from the film, the actor Demián Bichir. Before we get started, I'm so excited to be here today having this conversation. Before we get started, I just want to thank a couple organizations who make this possible. First of all, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association for their generous support of our year-round screening program, and Vision Media, who is our partner all year long on this program, making it possible. So thank you to both of you for that. To our Film Independent members who are tuning in, thank you for being here. I'm so happy you had a chance to see the film and are here for the conversation. If you have questions, and I hope you do, I'm sure you do, type them in the Q&A button down at the bottom and we'll get to them, as many as we can, towards the end of the talk. And to anyone tuning in who's maybe not a member of Film Independent, please join. Check out our website. You'll see what we do. We do so much great film programming all year long, as well as programs to support emerging and mid-career filmmakers. So, and our members vote on the Spirit Awards. So go to the website, check it out, and join if it looks good to you. With that, Robin and Demián, thank you so much for being here. It's great to see you.
For having us.
I just want to start by saying I love this film, and it's really stuck with me in an interesting way since I watched it. It has a long effect on me. Just the emotional resonance of the film is really powerful, and I was surprised how much it affected me, and just how long that stayed with me. And that's one of the things I want to talk to you both about, is kind of the emotional tonality of the film. But I mean, to start with, there's a lot I don't know about the backstory on the film. So Robin, I'd love to hear the origin of the project. So you didn't write the script, but I'm curious, is this a script that came to you, or had you been working with the writers and developing it? Was it an idea that you brought to them? How did the script come about?
The script came to our producer, Alan Stewart. She's on the board of, I think it's called the Nielsen competition. It's the writing competition through, I believe, Sundance Film Festival, where they choose 5 scripts out of 5,000. This was one of them.
Wow.
And she picked it up and reached out to me. I was shooting the last season of House of Cards. She flew to Baltimore, and she said, I think this is something you're going to want to direct as your first feature. And I couldn't put it down. It was a page turner. It really, and then there were these 2 lines in the movie that were so beautifully simple. And it was during the time when these random shootings were going on in our country almost bi-weekly, and there was so much loss and so much grief and so much pain. And this movie was so uplifting in the end, even though it is about those same things. And we just ventured for another year together to try to get financing for it.
Wow. I'm curious what the script was like. The film is there's very sparse dialogue. A lot of it is you alone in nature or at the cabin. Everything is playing out on your face or the landscape. I'm really curious what the script was like. Like, how did the writers convey what was happening in the inner life? Or was it a very short script?
It wasn't a very short script. It was actually too long. So we trimmed back a lot of the repetitive activities that the character does, and just kind of made it move like a juggernaut. And then we brought in Aaron Dignam to write some beautiful scenes and enhance some of the scenes with Miguel and Edie. It went through many iterations. We shot so many scenes that we cut out of the movie. We shot a whole back life of Edie.
Wow.
We shot the event, the unfathomable event that happens to her family. We shot that. We shot everything, and then we just stripped it in the editing room.
Amazing. Wow. I mean, one of the most striking things about the film to me is how so much of it is it's a very interior film. It's interior to you, And there is none of that back. I love the fact that the backstory is not there. Right? You don't give the audience a lot of information as to what's happening or what she's going through,
Right.
and you're not verbalizing it. And yet it's such a compelling performance where it's like, I want to be with you. I want to understand what's going on. And I think that's such a hard thing to pull off. And I mean, you do it beautifully.
Well, thank
Um,
you so much, because that was a real beast. You know,
I'm sure.
in the
Yeah.
editing process, going, are we allowing people to stay engaged on this journey with this one person without them getting bored and throwing their hands up? And how do we make people lean in and feel like they are riding next to this person? Before beautiful Miguel comes in and kind of saves the day, you know?
Yeah. Another aspect of it that struck me, I mean, it's related is, I mean, you use the phrase, you made the script move like a juggernaut. And I feel like another facet of your performance is how, like, clearly what the film is about is you're dealing with immense grief and sadness and depression, but you are so active. Like from the moment you throw the cell phone in the trash can, I'm like, okay, like you're driving it, you are fully active, you are on a journey, and we're going to follow you. And I just, like, that never lets up until maybe the moment when you collapse on the floor and almost die. But until that point, it's like everything is about getting to the cabin, and then everything that you do with your, establishing the rhythm of your life and how you're going to make it work. Which is, again, it's so engaging to watch that even without knowing what's going on. Well, Demián, I'd love to hear you. How did you get involved? How did the project come to you, and what drew you to it when you first read the script?
You get a lot of different scripts and offers to play, different things and different genres and different everything. And this came to me on a very specific moment in my life. And I'm always looking for different types of challenges or risks that I can take in order to polarize the work that I do, and only for me to have fun and to find other ways and try to extend my own range, and that's only a personal thing in my head always. And because you get a lot of the same all the time,
Mhm.
constantly, and the offers are filled with cliches and stereotypes and commonplaces and common everything. So I got this script and I was already excited that it was Robin Wright's first feature. It was going to be Robin's first feature. And so without reading it, I thought I have to be there. I want to be there, even if I have to, only bring her coffee in the morning or whatever. And then I was praying to find, a solid, beautiful story and, a character that I could have fun with and experiment or explore different things that I haven't tried before. And I found all that. It's only so rarely found. You don't get that whole package in one adventure very often. And so I couldn't be more grateful. And then when they told me, well, Robin would like to meet with you, I have to say it was nerve-wracking. It was a little bit intimidating because admiring her so much forever, for all these years, I was already excited just to meet her. And the minute she opened the door, I recognized a long time lost type of friend, my long time lost sister somehow, and the connection was instant. And I just, felt so lucky because I thought, wow, from this point on, everything will be just, great. And that's how, I love football. And when you find a partner that you can even, throw a pass to each other without seeing where the other player is, that's exactly how it happened. We didn't have to talk much, and we didn't have to, not even rehearse, really. It was just like an instant type of connection, and the communication flew very, very, very easily.
Wow. I mean, that's beautiful. Well, it certainly shows up on screen. And I mean, your scenes together are just, I mean, it's all there. Everything you just said is there on screen. So when you get to the end, and the final scene with you, I mean, it's just devastating. It's so powerful because of, you know, everything that came before, starting with that moment when you say, you were in my path. I mean, that's just, right? It's such a simple moment, but it completely lands. Robin, so you've directed a lot. This is your first feature, but you directed a lot on House of Cards, where you're both directing and directing yourself. So you have experience with that. But I just wanted to ask you about, well, the aspect of directing yourself in this film. Like, it's was your intention when you read the script, were you looking specifically for something to direct, or something to direct and star in? What sort of took priority, and how did you end up doing both?
Well, that was not intentional. Definitely was looking, you know, in the market for a feature film after House of Cards ended, and never intended to play this role because it's twice the work, and why put all of that on your plate for your first film? And then we got financed so quickly after not being financed for quite some time, and our window was so slim. We had to cast the movie in 48 hours, pack our bags, and get up to Alberta, Canada to shoot in this 1 month period of time for weather, because we needed to get 4 seasons over the course of 2.5 years in the film in 29 days. So the producers just looked at me and they were like, listen, I don't think we can take this risk. And what if you don't get it cast in time? And then we lose our financing, and we, you know, all that, the domino effect. So they suggested that I play Edie.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time I was like, all right, well, I'm going to be up there anyway. Just go for it, you know? But I had an incredible team of people. I never could have done it without them. I had 4 great producers on set all day, every day. And they were my co-directors for when I was in front of the camera.
Mm-hmm. So when you were, that's really interesting to hear. I'd also love to hear you talk about your relationship with the DP, in terms of like as the director, you want to see what's being captured, right? I'm assuming as it's being captured, either on a video monitor or looking through the lens, or being right by the camera. But with you, that's obviously not possible here. So how were you, what was that communication? Were you talking with, was it mainly the producers where you're checking in after shots, or how did you know you were getting what you wanted?
A lot of the time I didn't. And that's the trickery, you know. It's because there was snow on the ground, as an example. Snow on the ground, I'm in the outhouse. I can't run back to the dit tent because I can't put foot marks in the in the snow. There were those scenarios. But outside of that, Bobby Bukowski, our DP, and I discussed ad nauseum, you know, frames, references of other movies. We shared each other's what's influencing us for this film, what's inspiring us for this film. And we would share mood boards with each other and watch movies together in the production office during prep, and literally pinpoint and say, okay, for scene 37, I want it to look just like that shot that Kieslowski shot in, you know, Blue. we were really specific with each other. And we, you know, funnily enough, we had the same movies a lot of the time. Like, I brought up, my first movie was Julian Schnabel's Diving Bell and the Butterfly. Loved how he captured the elliptical flashbacks, right? You don't know exactly what happened to this man. Similar trajectory as ours. And Bobby came in the room the same day and mentioned the same movie. So it's all about communication, you know. You gotta just keep talking and keep showing examples. So
a question for both of you in terms of your performances. I mean, we touched on this in talking about the writing, but and hearing about the scenes that you cut, that you shot. These are such, both like, right, I don't know if this is the right terminology, but they feel like interior performances. You're not, I mean, you're expressive, and I mean, Robin, you have some like incredible scenes where you break down and you're crying, but a lot of it is there's an enormous amount going on under the surface that's not stated or obvious, but it's there and it's real. And the way that both of you communicate, there's that same quality. And if anything both of you would care to share about, like, how do you, I don't know, how did you find that as actors? How do you know it's working? You know, are you just trusting, like, because you're in the moment with each other and you feel it there, so you trust that it's going to be on camera, or how do you build that?
We have a running joke, actually, Josh. That's why we're giggling, because a lot of the times we get asked that question, like, how it's so spare, and how do you feel uncomfortable not having so many words to say? And we were like, we were so cold so much of the time we couldn't speak. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
But also, Demián, you have to share, because Demián is so emotive and expressive with his hands, and he's always moving. So am I. So that was really incredible homework on his part, I have to say, to be so still.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like a guru. He was like the Buddha.
Yeah, you know, when I read the script, I saw that, you know, I saw that great chance to get it tight and frugal, not only in words, but in actions and emotions. That was one of the things that, you know, fascinated me about that possibility, that offer. And I have played that before, but not into the saint mode type of thing, into this guru, as Robin says, into a shaman type of you know, mode, because I think Miguel is all that, and we wanted that. You know, we talked about those words. You know, those words stay with me, and also the music you listen to while you're shooting a film. I do that very often, you know, whatever the film is about or the character is like, or, you know, the rhythm of it, I create a playlist, and that stays with me the full, you know, shooting, during the entire shooting. And I remember choosing Yo-Yo Ma's, you know, greatest cello solos, and it was really easy how he, you know, somehow guided me on my times off, you know, whenever I was at home preparing and all that. And I think that's one of the things that I love about, you know, actors. When I watch an actor on the screen, I love when they're silent, because then they allow me to see what's happening in their souls and whatever's happening inside. And I remember Robin, you know, saying all the time, you know, like reminding Bobby, you know, let me see his eyes, let me see his eyes, trusting that my tiny eyes, you know, would be open at some point and you could see something through them. And, right? As my mom says, you know, tengo ojos de pulga pedorra, like small little flea's eyes, you know, like, yeah, like, and I say, Mom, these are not your eyes. What are you talking about? Anyway, so, and it was beautiful how, you know, I just thank you so much, Robbie, for penetrating my eyes with your camera. Because no, I'm not kidding. This is something that you always pray for, you know, and not every director is into that. You know, a lot of directors are into the, you know, the bigger spectrum instead of what's happening inside. And I have to say, that's what Robbie has in common with the heavyweights that I had the fortune to work with before. You know, they do the same. You know, they care for whatever is happening there. You know, and they keep it tight, and they want to see the overall picture. But everything is in, you know, how the actor tells the story.
Well, I'm just, as you were talking, I was just thinking to the end of the film, the scene when you're in bed and he comes to see you. And I mean, it is what's playing out on your face is so moving and powerful, just between the two of you. I mean, there is dialogue. Honestly, I don't even remember the dialogue. I just remember the way you looked at each other in those moments. Yeah. And then there's that beautiful shot, Robin, when you go outside and there's a shot through the window in the house and you see the people in there praying over him, or right, that moment. like, I don't know exactly what's happening there, but it's just so beautiful. And you see her like glancing on that moment. It's like, even there, it's just, nothing needs to be said. It's just, it's all in the image and the movements of their bodies at that moment. So I think you mentioned this at the beginning. Sorry, how long were you shot in Alberta, and how long were you up at the cabin? It was up, you had 20 some days.
We had 29 days starting mid-September, and we were convinced we weren't going to get winter. We thought, oh, we'll have to come back in January and shoot the snow segments. And the weather angels just were on our side. Some week in October,
Wow.
we got this dump of snow out of nowhere. It was beautiful autumn, the leaves were yellow, and then all of a sudden just snowstorm.
Yeah.
We were able to get the whole movie up there. And
Incredible.
it was tricky because, you know, the weather did dictate our shooting schedule every single day, because we were 8,000 feet up on a mountain shooting, you know, with the elements. we were in nature.
So as I mentioned, you've directed a lot on House of Cards, but I'm curious, Robin, you've worked with so many great filmmakers over the years. When you were approaching this as a, well, it's a two-part question. One is, I'm just curious if there were directors that you've worked with in the past who sort of informed your approach, like where you were drawing on lessons, things that you observed other people doing, where you're bringing that into how you approach directing. Maybe that doesn't cross your mind at all. I'm just curious, are there filmmakers that inspired you as a director? You know,
I feel like it's more, yes, probably inspire, yeah. And then the end of that sentence is, I'll never be that good. You know what I mean? Those that are the heavyweights. But they have their own style. You got the Scorseses and the Coppolas and the, you know, Fincher, they really have their own style. And I would love to get there at some point. So now it's only the beginning, and I have little tiny pieces of notes and things over the years that I used to write. I want to emulate that.
mm-hmm.
Or I never want to do that to an actor. Things that
Right.
that resonated, you know, this is how I feel is more productive as a director.
Right. Yeah. So picking up on that, I wanted to ask, I'm curious, I've heard so many filmmakers say that, directors say that a huge part of their job is just creating a particular environment on set, whatever that is. It differs from director to director. I'm curious if you would want to talk about, like, what sort of environment are you trying to create? Are you consciously doing that? And are there sort of ways you approach that?
I think kindness is the only answer to that. And I think if you imbue that energy, people follow. And if there was ever a time where rage, you know, a rageful moment of somebody, or somebody being angry and unjustifiably mean to a crew member, I just don't tolerate that kind of set.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I don't think I ever will. So I think if you just come onto set, being that person, hopefully it's contagious.
Yeah. And was everything like, that was your primary location, the cabin? So, and then when you were out in the woods, was that all pretty like in a contained, you know, proximity to that?
Yeah, everything was about a 30-minute radius from the cabin. Yeah, it was beautiful, beautiful country where we were.
So the film premiered at Sundance last year, and then of course COVID hit and the world changed. And I'm curious to hear, well, again, a two-part question. I'm sure that, you know, the film has come out in the world, but not in the way that anybody would have expected. And I'm curious how that has been for you. Like, normally you experience the film with an audience, which you got to have at Sundance, but, you know, after that moment of connecting with press and audience is just so different this year. And what has that been like for you? First of all, well, I'll leave it at that.
I mean, it's right, Demián. We actually were in this year's Sundance.
Oh my gosh,
So
right.
yeah, so we didn't get any live theater experience or audience experience. It's different. It's really different.
Yeah,
There's nothing like that experience, sitting in a movie theater with others but oh well, this is where we are. And
yeah,
it was a beautiful fate that we did get chosen to be in the Sundance Film Festival, and to open right now, because I feel like the message this film carries is so timely. I think everybody can connect with, yes, the dark side of it, but it's such an uplifting end about hope and resilience and the beautiful side of humanity and how we need to be connected. We need each other to get through these hard times,
absolutely. Yeah. I have to say, I would love to see this film in a theater on a big screen, because where you're just the visual world of the film is so incredible. But at the same time, I feel like watching it at home by myself on a TV it's an emotionally powerful experience in its own right, in a way that's true to the moment we're living through. I mean, it is what it is. So, and I have to say, personally, the moment she throws the phone in the trash, I was like, yes, like that's what I want to do. I just so identified with her in that moment, just because of everything now. Like I was like, I want to do this. When she tells him to take the car back, I was like, okay, wait, this is getting a little darker.
A little
But
bit extreme. Yeah.
yeah. And then I like a second COVID question, if I may, is just to both of you. I'm curious how, I mean, this is a huge question, but aside from the release of the film, how are you both weathering or thriving in this moment creatively as actors and filmmakers? Like, has this shifted the way that you approach your work, or the types of stories you're drawn to, or are you, any changes that you're seeing?
I'll go first. I beg for some free time. I'm not kidding. And, this is me. I'm almost always on pandemic mode when I'm not working, because I'm some kind of a hermit. So I just go out, get some groceries, and stay home. I love being here, and there's so many things to do. There's so much homework for me to do, things that I have to read and the things that I want to write. Music, I'm always fooling around with, and all kinds of things, so to me, it's been a very, very creative time. It's been very difficult because I haven't seen my loved ones in this full, last year. But thank goodness for these devices, because that's how we have been connected. And I only
Yeah.
saw that in James Bond films. You weren't even born, Robin, so you don't know what I'm talking about. But back in those films, it was like, damn it, is this going to happen really one day? Well, we're doing it right now, and this is really fascinating. It's fantastic how it shortened distances, and
Yeah.
so it's been. I'll tell you what the painful part of all this is. Knowing that the families who are losing their loved ones, they're going through pretty much whatever our characters have gone, and Edie specifically. And I think the beautiful thing about this film is that it shows you, to all those human beings who have lost their loved ones, that it doesn't matter how terrible this process is and how painful it is, you will overcome it, and you will come back on your feet if you follow the right steps, and then if you're lucky to find the right help, and if you're open to it, because you need to be generous to give, but you have to be open and generous to receive as well. And my heart goes out to all of them, because they're dying alone. I think that's the most terrible part of this pandemic.
Mhm.
People are dying alone, So the fact that these two characters find each other and help each other, and this shows the best of us as humans. I just love that in a story and just the way we were able to tell it. It's a blessing.
Yeah. Well, we have a ton of questions from the audience, which I want to turn to now because I always wait too long. Stephanie asks, thank you for such an incredibly moving and powerful film. I appreciated that I didn't really know what the inciting incident was for Edie because it actually kept me engaged to understand why she makes this decision. What made you decide not to include that scene?
It took me out of the movie. In the editing room, it was in there. It was at the front of the movie. It was in the middle of the movie at one point. It was at the end. I felt removed from being engaged along this journey with this person. And then with these two people. I literally felt like I was being transported into a different film, and then we'd end the flashback scene and come back to reality, our movie reality.
Right.
And I thought, oh, that's interesting, that feeling. But I didn't know that until the editing.
Wow. Question from Youssef for Robin. How was your journey to the director's chair? Is it something you were always interested in, and are you planning to continue on this path behind the camera?
It was always a secret desire, I think, but never vocalized because I didn't think I was ready. And then once I got the bug on House of Cards, that's all she wrote. I was like, I love this so much. I love working with all the different department heads and people and watching what actors do, watching that evolution. You give a note and you see that transformation. There's nothing more beautiful than that. And then other things started to come along, and I'm going to direct Ozark. In a couple of weeks, I leave to go do that.
Fantastic.
So excited, yeah.
Such a great show. A question for both of you from PJ. Before filming, had either of you spent any time in the wilderness and wildness? Are you interested on embarking on some kind of trek now?
I think I'm ready now. Right?
I think so.
I'm a city person, you know. I've always lived in the big cities. Never been an outdoor guy. Never ever, you know, even camped, you know, anywhere outside. Well, three nights on a boot camp for a film, and that was something. But you know, we were really well trained by a real mountain guy. And he taught us everything from fishing to hunting to, you know, building traps and skinning the deer, storing the meat, you know, chopping wood, which is not as easy as it looks. You can chop off your leg if you don't do it properly. And then, you know, specific, very simple things like keeping a fire up, you know, alive for overnight and things like that. But I think that's one of the beautiful things about our work. We get to know more about life. They pay us to know more about life.
Question here. The Native American ritual of Miguel's family and friends encircling him during his transition was filmed so beautifully and delicately and conveyed so much. Did you ever consider incorporating more of Miguel's Native American practice into their relationship?
It was more enhanced a little bit in the original draft, where you saw more of his family. But we kind of truncated it when the character Miguel became Hispanic. Originally, this character was Native. And we moved it into what is actually existent. It's the Hispanics that work for this one organization called Dig Deep, who bring fresh, clean water to the reservations where they can't access it. So I thought, go with something really authentic, then you won't get in trouble of not getting it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, A question from Robert, who asks, would you discuss your approach to Edie and Miguel's relationship? In most films between a man and a woman, they build towards the romantic relationship. Refreshingly, your film focuses on a common emotional connection with only hints of a romantic one. Was that ever, were there versions of the script where that played out differently, or was it always this way?
It was always this way. And Demián, you can talk about this better.
Well, thank you, honey, for trusting me. You know, I think this is the highest type of love that there exists.
Yeah.
When you don't even know each other and you don't need to know anything from each other, and you don't need to ask any questions. This is the purest form of love. The one, you know, the love for your fellow humans. And I think that's fascinating. You know, that part of this story, I think is beautiful. I think it's great because there's so much love between these two human beings and they don't even have to touch each other. So there wasn't anything like that, and I thought it was beautiful. I think it was smart, because when you're reading the script, you think, oh, it's going to go there at some point. And I just think that I thank them, you know, thank the script and thank Robin and everybody around it for not underestimating the audience's intelligence, you know, because that's a common place to go. And I just love that we fooled everyone.
Question from Jeffrey, in the flashback that you cut, was Edie present at the shooting, or was it something that she learned about after the fact?
She was present at the shooting. She witnessed it.
Wow. A good question here from Da Vinci, who asks, did you guys learn a new appreciation for the music of Tears for Fears?
You better believe it.
You better believe it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And go ahead.
Let's see. For a question for Robin from Jeffrey, knowing that you didn't originally intend to star in the film, were there changes that you made as a director to tailor the film and the role to yourself as an actor? If you had cast another actress, how different do you think the final film would be?
No, that's a great question, but no, I didn't alter anything really. It was all on the page. You know, you think about when you were in the casting process of who could do this role where you start out as a novice and then you become a pro, in a sense, you know, with the physicality. That was my only quest when I was thinking about who to cast is, yeah.
I'm curious, when you were shooting, since you're in a contained location, and especially for the scenes where it was just you, did you really, I'm curious what the flow of a day was like. Would you try and stay in character, like beyond one shot, where you weren't flipping from actor to director back and forth, checking with the DP? Like, did you try and kind of stay in the moment through a longer stretch of time and just letting, you know, the filming happen? Or did you have to step out of that and speak as a director more throughout?
It's more like a light switch turning on and off when you're acting in your own movie. And in that sense, yes, it's always a job. It's a job what we do, even though it's a very emotional job. But that light switch becomes much more deliberate because you don't have time to stay in character or hold this emotion. So what I would do, if it was an emotional scene, I would just clear the cabin, just everybody give me a minute. And then I'd say, can we just have the boom and the DP? Everybody else outside the cabin. Other than that, you know, it's, let's go, got to get in front of the camera and action and do a couple of takes and then get back into the director's chair.
Wow, that's remarkable. Jonathan asked the question for Robin. He says, I was struck by the aspect of a strong woman against nature and learning to survive on her own in the wilderness. How did the film resonate with you? It had a profound impact on me.
This is A great question, by the way, because a lot of people will say, well, you're claiming to understand everything about grief and loss. Not at all. The antithesis of that. This is one person's journey that I wanted to, share in exploring, because the audience is exploring at the same time. Why did this person go there? Why does she remain there? She could walk down the mountain, and she opts not to. But I also loved what happens 3/4 of the way in the movie. You see that it's an homage to her family. She went there for them because that's where they always wanted to live together. So it's almost like a tribute of love and holding that connection to her family.
Question, why the title Land?
It was called I, the letter I, and then Land. And then by the time we got financed, Netflix had a show called Island. So we had to change it. And we thought about many other titles. We had hundreds of other titles. And we just kept coming back to this one because it's got a dual meaning,
Yeah. The light in the film is incredible. I mean, I was thinking about the land, but then the skies are so astonishing in the film. And I mean, Bobby Bukowski did an incredible job of capturing the shifting light. And I mean, in the wide shots of where you are, but also on your faces, right? When you're out, and the light from the snow and things like that. I mean, it's the play of light in this film is extraordinary.
That's so great to hear. Yeah, it was, Bobby slept in Edie's cabin most of the month that we shot so that he could grab that camera, put it on his shoulder, and capture all those beautiful vista shots and the weather, that windstorm with the tin roof banging. That was being woken up at 3 a.m. and jumping outside and capturing that. And we had an incredible B camera guy that would go out and shoot animals or just vista shots for transition pieces in the movie. But we were in an incredible location that provided everything you could ever want. So you just needed to make sure those guys had their cameras on their shoulders all the time because the light was shifting a lot up there. Yeah.
Wow. Question from Matt, who asked, Robin, you said that you cut out a lot of the backstory that you actually shot. As a director, is it heartbreaking to toss out so much work, or is it freeing?
It was liberating in this instance.
Yeah, that's great. And then Bill asked, can both of you share what upcoming projects you both have? So Robin, you mentioned Ozark. Anything both of you are really excited about coming up?
Yeah, what are you doing, Mr. Bichir?
I have a full sold out tour karaoke with Everybody Wants to Rule the World and Sweet Caroline from the Midnight Sky, which are my most recent successes, and it's going great. I mean, tickets are flying.
I'm sure.
Yeah. That's it.
He's such a nut.
How about you, Ms. Robin?
Ozark, and then I think I'm gonna take a little break for a minute and sleep because it's been a long 2 years. And then I really want to direct a comedy. Yeah. Maybe you and I just need to go do it.
Can I audition for it?
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Wright.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you both so much for being here. It's great to talk to you about the film. Congrats on the film. It's so beautiful.
Thank you, Josh.
And yeah, when the comedy's done, we'd love to have you back, both of you.
We will. On the road with our stand-up act.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.